The Miami Dolphins have been on a roll recently with their new coach Mike McDaniel and the star quarterback Tagovailoa pushing all the right buttons. But what if we told you the team owes this success to their Week 17 defeat in the playoffs? So sit back as we give you an insight into their revamp and tell you why Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback right now. First up, the loss that saved Tua Tagovailoa's career with the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins' Week 17 loss in 2021 cost them a playoff spot, but it may have saved the franchise and Tua Tagovailoa's future. They were on a 7-game winning streak, miraculously in control of their own playoff destiny, and sat in the final wild-card spot heading into the final 2 weeks of the season. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for Miami, will most likely be the deciding factor in the game against Tennessee, but the Dolphins fumbled, and the 24-year-old had a particularly bad game. The defense allowed 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals on the day, while the offense only managed 3 points, and the Titans easily won 34-3. Tua completed only 18 of 38 passes, threw a pick, and was sacked 4 times, a season high. He also struggled with simple ball handling, as the cold weather had a noticeable effect on his grip. After the interception, cameras caught head coach Brian Flores yelling at Tua on the sidelines, with Tua seemingly ignoring the commotion. Miami was effectively eliminated from playoff contention, with one more meaningless season finale remaining. It was later reported that the coach and quarterback had a locker room brawl at halftime of the game in Tennessee, during which Flores was furious with Tagovailoa's performance and had no problem telling him so. Tua replied that Flores doesn't know how to talk to people. Moving on, what actually happened after the game? Flores was fired after the Dolphins missed the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive season, citing both the team's on-field performance as well as locker room issues and continuity with the coaching staff. Since then, things have gone rather well for Miami. Some question the hiring of little-known Mike McDaniel as head coach, but it appears that his schemes and coaching style have helped revolutionize the offense and the franchise. Tyreek Hill's acquisition has been a huge success, as he and Jalen Waddle have formed possibly the most lethal duo in the game. And what about Tagovailoa? He's putting up numbers that are comparable to some of the best we've seen in the last decade. Who could have guessed? That would not be Brian Flores. At the time of writing, the Dolphins were 7-3 and first in the AFC East, trailing only the Kansas City Chiefs for the conference lead. Miami is ranked 5th in Super Bowl odds, and Tagovailoa is ranked 3rd in MVP odds. It's been a long time since things have been this good. It's safe to say that everything happened as a result of their loss. Next, would things be different if they had won that game? So what happens if the Dolphins' fortunes turn around and they win that crucial game against the Titans in Week 17 of the 2021 season? For starters, and most importantly, Brian Flores would have retained his position as head coach. If Miami had won its final 9 games and qualified for the playoffs, he would have been the leader of the greatest single-season turnaround in NFL history. In a league where winning cures all, he would be praised for his leadership, and any issues he had with his players and coaching staff would be swept under the rug for at least another season. Tua wouldn't have been safe, though. There was a notable divide between him and Flores throughout their relationship, and the coach did so little to lift and enable his young signal caller. In fact, he did the exact opposite. Tua is our quarterback, was the only public compliment he could muster for Tagovailoa, and even that appeared to be a lie. Tua's role as the starting quarterback seemed to shift from week to week under Flores. There were the benchings as a rookie when Ryan Fitzpatrick came in to finish games, and the absurd onslaught of Deshaun Watson rumors that dominated the headlines for weeks before and after the trade deadline. With Tua out and Brian Flores still retaining his seat as the head coach, a disaster in the long term would have been on the cards for the Dolphins. Adding to this, where would Tua be if he was to be traded after the loss? Even if Tagovailoa had performed admirably against the Titans, Flores would almost certainly have chosen to move on from the troubled quarterback, and the Dolphins would have received a 2nd or 3rd round pick in exchange for him. Tua would most likely be coached by Dan Campbell in Detroit or Pete Carroll in Seattle. He wouldn't have the same weapons as he does now in Miami, but we'd likely see a better Tagovailoa under any coach than Flores. How about the Dolphins? There would be no Mike McDaniel in addition to Tua. The Flores-led defense would probably perform better than it does now in 2022, but the high-powered offense we've been introduced to would be gone. Even if Chris Grier had been able to complete the Tyreek Hill trade, the Cheetahs would have been stuck with the same mediocre offense that once ran a screen pass into their own end zone. Who would be the one to pass the ball to Hill and Waddle? What about Jimmy Garoppolo? Perhaps Marcus Mariota? Or would Flores in Miami have kept looking for Deshaun Watson? Would we be watching Jacoby Brissett at quarterback instead of Browns fans while we sat waiting for the accused sexual predator to return from his 11-game suspension? Tagovailoa, whoever it is not one of them. It's crazy to think how losing a game saved the team from this mess that they would almost certainly find themselves themselves in had they won it. Now, for Tua Tagovailoa being the NFL's best quarterback. As we near the end of Week 12 of the 2022 NFL season, there are two issues that we may not have anticipated when the season began. In terms of opponent-adjusted DVOA rankings, the Miami Dolphins are second only to the Kansas City Chiefs. In head coach Mike McDaniel's offense, quarterback Tagovailoa is also doing almost everything expected of a QB at a thermonuclear level. To say the least, the statistics are extreme, with Tagovailoa currently standing first among quarterbacks in both DVOA and DYAR. The 24-year-old finished 25 of 32 passes for 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 135 in Miami's 39-17 victory over the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. Tagovailoa became the second quarterback in NFL history to have at least 275 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes, and a passer rating of 135 or higher in 3 consecutive games with that performance. Kurt Warner of the St. Louis Rams did it as well in 1999 during his NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP season. Some will argue that Tagovailoa has been an unlucky quarterback and that he's a point guard in a derogatory sense, benefiting from McDaniel's schematic genius and a group of receivers led by Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But in McDaniel's offense, Tagovailoa has grown and progressed, and with these receivers, it's becoming clear that this version of the quarterback is the ideal quarterback for this offense, and he brings as much or more to the table than anyone else in the building. Finally, let's look at some glimpses of his confidence and excellent gameplay. Tagovailoa's total comfort in this offense showed up on his 29-yard pass to Waddle early in the second quarter. The Dolphins had 3rd and 4 from their own 35-yard line, and given the general tendencies of this passing game, you wouldn't blame the Browns for expecting a shorter pass to move the sticks. Tagovailoa exploited that thought process on the deep pass. Before the throw, the star quarterback used his eyes to manipulate safety Grant Delpit away from where he wanted the ball to go. When Hill went in motion from left to right, which sealed Delpit's responsibility in Cleveland's cover 6 defense, he had to take Hill up top. Waddle was to the other side in a twins alignment with Sherfield, and that's where Tagovailoa wanted the ball to go on the deep post. That look from Tagovailoa and Hill's motion opened everything up for Waddle to catch the ball with rhythm. Sherfield's vertical route took safety John Johnson away from Waddle, which added to the open nature of the throw. Then there was this gorgeous 14-yard touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield with 37 seconds left in the first half. Hill was Tagovailoa's first read on the out route to the left side, but Tua saw and wanted more out of this. Sherfield knew that he had to be on the lookout for anything and everything because his quarterback is seeing things so well and letting them play out. Major props should also go to right guard Robert Hunt, who prevented Cleveland alpha edge defender Myles Garrett from crushing his quarterback. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the Dolphins' loss in that game played a vital role in their comeback? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.
I don't know who ended up leaking it, but he must have been waiting outside the courthouse for an entire week or something.